Commander Taemin Park stood on the bridge of the orbital station Sejong, watching the massive alien ships appear in Earth's sky. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They looked like floating crystals made of silver and blue, light. Each one was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Sir, we're getting a message," said Communications Officer Minho. His voice was shaking. Nobody could blame him. The alien fleet had just appeared without warning, blocking out the stars. Taemin nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The face that appeared was not human. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and skin that looked like living crystal. When it spoke, the words came through a translator that made its voice sound cold and empty. "I am Fleet Commander Veltharion of the Galactic Council. We speak to the species known as humans. Your time of freedom in this galaxy has ended." Taemin felt his stomach drop. The Galactic Council was real. For 3 years, Earth had known about them. The Council was made up of 12 different alien species who ruled most of the galaxy. They had been watching Earth since humans first left their solar system 50 years ago. "You have shown that your species is too dangerous," Veltharion continued. "You fight instead of talk. You build weapons instead of art. You spread across space like a disease. The Council has decided that you cannot be allowed to continue." Down on Earth, in the capital city of New Geneva, President Haiwan Choi was having an emergency meeting with her top advisors. The room was full of tension. Everyone knew this day might come, but nobody wanted to believe it would actually happen. "What are our options?" President Choi asked. General Woo Jin Nam, head of Earth's military forces, looked grim. "They have 200 ships in our solar system. Our entire space navy has maybe 50 ships, and most of them are exploration vessels with light weapons." Dr. So Young Kim, Earth's top expert on alien life, shook her head. "This is wrong. They don't understand us at all. Yes, humans can be aggressive, but only when we're threatened. We're protective, not violent." "Try telling that to them," General Nam replied. "They've made up their minds." Back on the Sejong station, Veltharion was still talking. "The Council offers you one choice. You will surrender all military weapons and technology. Your people will be moved to special worlds where you can live safely under our protection. You have 72 of your hours to decide." Taemin stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" The alien's 4 eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Then you will be removed by force. Your cities will be destroyed. Your people will be scattered. Your world will be given to a species that can use it properly." The communication ended. The bridge of the Sejong fell silent except for the quiet hum of the computers. "Sir," said Lieutenant Yeonseo, the station's tactical officer, "what are your orders?" Taemin thought for a moment. He remembered his daughter back on Earth. She was only 8 years old and loved to draw pictures of spaceships. Would she grow up on some alien world, never knowing the sky she was born under? "Contact Admiral Dongwoo Lee," Taemin said. "Priority 1 message. Tell him the wolves are at the door." Admiral Lee was on the hidden military base inside the asteroid belt. The base was called Haven, and officially it didn't exist. For the past 10 years, Earth had been secretly building ships and weapons there, just in case something like this happened. When Admiral Lee got the message, he smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had been waiting for his prey to make a mistake. "Begin Phase 1, he told his staff. "Send the signal to all hidden bases. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." All across the solar system, in hidden bases on moons and asteroids, human ships began to wake up. These weren't the exploration ships the aliens could see. These were warships, built in secret, designed specifically to fight alien technology. On Earth, President Choi was meeting with her cabinet again. The room was full of arguing voices. "We have to surrender," said Defense Minister Park Ji-sung. "We can't fight them. It would be suicide." "If we surrender, we lose everything anyway," replied Foreign Minister Lee Hana. "At least if we fight, we die as free people." Dr. Kim stood up. "There might be another way. I've been studying their technology for 3 years. They use something called quantum entanglement for all their communications. It makes them incredibly coordinated, but it also makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable how?" President Choi asked. "If we could get into their network, we could turn their own technology against them. Dr. Young-Soo Han has been working on something. He calls a quantum virus. It's designed to spread through their communication system and disrupt their technology. General Nam leaned forward. How close is he to finishing it? It's ready, Dr. Kim said quietly. We've been preparing for this day for 3 years. The question is, are we ready to use it? President Choi looked around the room. These people were her friends as well as her advisors. They had families, children, dreams for the future. The aliens wanted to take all of that away. How many people would die if we fight? She asked. Billions, General Nam said honestly, on both sides. And how many will die if we surrender? Dr. Kim spoke up. Maybe not physically, but everything that makes us human will die. Our freedom, our culture, our right to choose our own path among the stars. President Choi closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her expression was hard as steel. Send a message to Admiral Lee. Tell him to prepare the fleet. If the aliens want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. Back in space, the alien fleet was positioning itself around Earth. Veltharion stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Harmony. He felt satisfied. Another primitive species would be brought under council control. It was always the same. The young species would threaten and bluster, but in the end, they always surrendered when they saw the power of the council. His tactical officer, a reptilian creature called Sektar, approached him. Commander, we're detecting increased communication, activity from the human homeworld. Let them talk, Veltharion said. Fear makes primitive species very talkative. Soon they will realize they have no choice but to submit. What Veltharion didn't know was that Captain Jiho Kang and his Special Forces team were already aboard his ship. They had used stolen alien technology to slip past the Council's sensors. They were hiding in the ship's maintenance areas, waiting for the signal to begin their mission. Captain Kang whispered into his communicator. Phoenix team is in position. We're ready to plant the virus when you give the word. All around the solar system, other human teams were doing the same thing. They had spent years learning how to infiltrate alien ships. Now all that training was about to pay off. Dr. Han sat in his laboratory on the moon looking at the small device that contained his quantum virus. It was no bigger than a coin, but it could destroy the entire Galactic Council. Are you sure about this? Asked his assistant, Engineer Mi-Jin Yu. Dr. Han thought about his son, who wanted to be a starship pilot when he grew up. The aliens made their choice when they came here with threats instead of friendship. Now we make ours. The countdown to humanity's ultimatum had begun. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn that humans were indeed as dangerous as the Council feared. But they would also learn that sometimes being dangerous was exactly what survival required. Earth was preparing to show the universe that when you threaten a human's family, you don't get mercy. You get war. President Haiwan Choi stood before the cameras in the Global Communications Center. Behind her was the flag of United Earth, and in front of her were broadcast equipment that would send her message to every human on the planet and beyond. More importantly, the aliens would be watching too. My fellow humans, she began, her voice calm and steady. After careful consideration, Earth has decided to accept the Galactic Council's terms. We will surrender our military assets and submit to their protection. Around the world, people watched in shock. Many cried. Some got angry. But those who knew the real plan just waited. On the alien flagship, Veltharion watched the human president's speech with satisfaction. As expected, he told his officers, when faced with superior force, even the most aggressive species becomes reasonable. What Veltharion didn't see was Captain Jiho Kang hiding in the ship's ventilation system just 20 meters above his head. Kang was listening to every word through his translator device. Soon, the alien commander would learn what human deception really looked like. General Wu Jin Nam was in the secret command center deep under the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with screens showing positions of ships all across the solar system. Most showed human vessels powering down their weapons and shields, just as they were supposed to. Phase 2 is working perfectly, reported Colonel Sung Min. The aliens think we're really surrendering. Good, General Nam replied. How long until our hidden ships are in position? 6 hours, sir. Admiral Lee's fleet is moving through the asteroid belt now. The aliens can't see them because of all the metal in the rocks. It had taken 3 years to plan this moment. Ever since first contact with the Council, Earth's best minds had been working on a way to fight back if necessary. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could get their hands on. They had learned the aliens' weaknesses. Most importantly, they had learned that the Council's greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. Dr. Young-Soo Han was putting the finishing touches on his quantum virus in his laboratory on Luna Base. The device was small and looked harmless, but it contained the power to bring down an entire galactic civilization. The beauty of it, he explained to engineer Mi Jin-Yu, is that they'll never see it coming. The Council uses quantum entanglement for everything. Their ships, their cities, their government, it's all connected through quantum links. They think this makes them stronger. But it actually makes them vulnerable, Mi Jin said, understanding. Exactly. When this virus spreads through their network, it won't just affect their ships here. It will reach every Council world in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Admiral Dongwu Li was aboard his flagship, the Cheonji, hidden in the shadow of the asteroid series. Around him were 50 of Earth's most advanced warships, all invisible to alien sensors. These ships had been built specifically to fight the Council. They used new technology based on captured alien science but improved with human engineering. "Sir," reported Captain So-Ra Kim, his communications officer. "All teams are reporting ready. The infiltration squads are in position on 12 major alien vessels." Admiral Li nodded. Each of those infiltration teams was led by someone like Captain Kang, Special Forces soldiers who had trained for years to fight in alien environments. They could survive in different atmospheres, operate alien technology, and most importantly, they could move through alien ships without being detected. Back on Earth, the fake surrender was continuing perfectly. Human ships were broadcasting shutdown signals. Military bases were powering down their defensive systems. Transport ships were beginning to load civilians for relocation to the alien ships. Dr. So-Young Kim was overseeing the evacuation from the spaceport in New Geneva. Families were saying goodbye, not knowing if they would ever see each other again. Children were crying. Parents were trying to be brave. "Remember," she told the evacuation coordinators, "make it look real. The aliens have to believe we're actually giving up." One little girl, maybe 6 years old, tugged on Dr. Kim's coat. "Are the aliens really going to take us away from Earth?" Dr. Kim knelt down to the child's level. "Don't worry," she said softly. "Your parents and all the people of Earth are working very hard to make sure you get to come home." The little girl smiled and walked back to her parents. Dr. Kim hoped she was telling the truth. On the alien command ship, Veltharion was receiving reports from all across the human solar system. "The humans are complying with all our demands," reported his intelligence officer. "Their military ships are powering down. Their defensive satellites are going offline. Even their communication networks are submitting to our monitoring." "Excellent," Veltharion said. "How long until we have complete control?" 12 hours, Commander. By then, all human military assets will be under our direct control. What the aliens didn't know was that the human ships powering down were mostly old exploration vessels and cargo haulers equipped with fake weapon signatures. The real military ships were still hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. Captain, Kang and his team had spent 6 hours crawling through the alien ship's maintenance tunnels. The Eternal Harmony was huge, almost like a small city floating in space. The aliens had built it to be comfortable for their crystal-based biology, which meant lots of empty spaces filled with energy fields that humans could hide in. "Target is in sight," Kang whispered into his communicator. "The quantum communication array is heavily guarded, but we can reach it through the power conduits." "Roger that, Phoenix team," came General Nam's voice. "You are clear to proceed when ready." Kang looked at his team, Sergeant Yujin, Corporal Daeho, and Private Yunji. They had trained together for 2 years. They knew each other's thoughts before they spoke them. "Remember," Kang said, "once we plant this virus, there's no going back. The aliens will know we tricked them, and they'll be very angry." "Good," said Sergeant Yujin. "I'm tired of pretending to be helpless." Around the solar system, similar conversations were happening on 11 other alien ships. Human Special Forces teams were in position, waiting for the signal to begin humanity's real response to the Council's ultimatum. President Choi was in the underground command center now, watching the countdown timer on the main screen. In 4, Hours. The fake surrender would be complete, and the aliens would think they had won. That's when Earth would show them how wrong they were. "Madam President," said General Nam, "all teams report ready. The virus is prepared for deployment. Our hidden fleet is in position. Are you ready to give the order?" President Choi thought about her daughter, safe in a bunker in Seoul. She thought about all the children of Earth, all the families, all the dreams for the future that the aliens wanted to destroy. "The council came here to put us in cages," she said. "They think we're too dangerous to be free. Let's show them they were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but only to those who threaten our freedom." She walked to the command console and placed her hand on the authorization scanner. "All teams, this is President Choi. You are authorized to begin Operation Prometheus. Bring fire to the galaxy." Across the solar system, human special forces, teams received the signal. In secret bases, warships began to power up their weapons. On hidden research stations, scientists prepared to unleash technology that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The fake surrender was over. The real war was about to begin. Captain Kang smiled as he attached Dr. Han's quantum virus to the alien communication array. "This is for trying to steal our home," he whispered. In space, the alien fleet continued their victory celebration, unaware that death was already spreading through their ships like invisible fire. The humans had spent 3 years learning their enemies' weaknesses. Now it was time to exploit every single one of them. The galaxy was about to learn why the Council was right to fear humanity. The only mistake they had made was thinking they could do something about it. The virus spread faster than anyone had expected. Captain Ji-ho Kang watched from his hiding spot as the alien command center suddenly erupted in chaos. Warning lights flashed red and blue across the crystal walls. The alien officers were making high-pitched sounds that his translator couldn't understand, but their panic was clear enough. "Phoenix team to control," Kang whispered into his communicator. "Package delivered. The party has started." All across the Eternal Harmony, alien technology began to fail. Computer screens went dark, then lit up again, showing strange symbols that hurt to look at. The ship's artificial gravity started fluctuating, making everyone float for a few seconds before slamming back down. Dr. Young-Soo Han watched the virus spread from his laboratory on Luna Base. His computers showed a map of the galaxy with bright red dots spreading like wildfire through the Council's quantum network. "It's working even better than we hoped," he told engineer Mi-Jin Yu. "The virus is jumping from ship to ship, then following their quantum links back to their home worlds." Mi-Jin stared at the display. Each red dot represented a world with billions of alien lives. "So many people are going to die." "They chose this when they came here with weapons instead of friendship," Dr. Han replied, but his voice was troubled. On the bridge of the Eternal Harmony, Commander Veltharion was trying to understand what was happening to his fleet. His 4 eyes were wide with terror as report after report came in. "Sir, the Nexari cruiser Wisdom's Light is reporting total system failure," announced his tactical officer Sektar. "Their quantum core is overloading. The Zephyrian dreadnought Mind's Eye has lost contact with their home world," added another officer. "All their ships are going dark." Veltharion felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their technology was perfect. Nothing could touch them. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "The humans surrendered." That's when the lights went out. Engineer Mi-Jin Yu was monitoring the situation from the research vessel Dangun, hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons. Through her telescopes, she could see the massive alien ships beginning to drift. Their shields were flickering like dying candles. "Admiral Lee," she reported over. "The communication system. Enemy fleet is showing multiple system failures. Shields are down on 60% of their vessels." Admiral Dongwoo Lee stood on the bridge of his flagship Cheonji, watching his enemies fall apart. Around him, 50 human warships were powering up their weapons. These ships had been designed for one purpose: killing Council vessels. "All ships, this is Admiral Lee," he announced. "The enemy is blind and helpless. Begin attack formation. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The human fleet emerged from hiding like ghosts, becoming solid. They had been invisible in the asteroid belt, but now they appeared on every alien sensor at once. The Council ships that still had working sensors suddenly detected 50 heavily armed human vessels where there should have been empty space, but by then, it was too late. The human ships looked nothing like the exploration vessels the aliens had seen before. These were sleek and predatory, painted black with red markings that looked like claw marks. They moved fast and struck hard, targeting the alien ship's weak points with precision that spoke of years of planning. Captain So-Ra Kim, commanding the destroyer Soul's Vengeance, led the first attack wave. Her ship's weapons had been designed, specifically to punch through Council shield technology. "Target the Nexari cruiser," she ordered her weapons officer. "Full spread of quantum torpedoes." The torpedoes streaked across space like angry red stars. When they hit the alien cruiser, its crystal hull cracked like glass. The ship broke apart in a shower of beautiful, deadly fragments. On Earth, President Haewon Choi watched the battle from the underground command center. The main screen showed the positions of all ships in the solar system. Red dots representing alien vessels were disappearing one by one. "Report," she said to General Wu Jin Nam. "The quantum virus has spread to 47 Council worlds." The general replied, "We're getting reports of system failures across their entire civilization. Their communication network is collapsing." Dr. So-Young Kim looked up from her monitoring station. "Madam President, I'm receiving emergency transmissions from the alien home worlds. They're asking for help. Some of their planets are losing life. Support." President Choi felt a heavy weight in her chest. "How many people?" "Billions," Dr. Kim said quietly. The president closed her eyes. When she opened them, her expression was hard. "They came here to destroy us. Every human life they plan to end justifies what we're doing now." Back in space, the battle was becoming a slaughter. The human ships were faster, smarter, and angrier than anything the Council had ever faced. Captain Kang and his Special Forces teams had sabotaged the alien ships from the inside, making them easy targets for the human fleet. The Zephyrian dreadnought Infinite Wisdom tried to fight back, but its weapons kept targeting its own escort ships instead of the humans. The reptilian crew was screaming in their hissing language as their own technology turned against them. Commander Veltharion realized that his mighty fleet was doomed. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned the Council's greatest strength into a weapon against them. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Emergency jump to hyperspace." But the quantum virus had infected their navigation systems too. When the surviving alien ships tried to jump to hyperspace, they ended up scattered across the solar system instead of escaping. Some appeared inside Jupiter's atmosphere and were crushed instantly. Others materialized too close to the sun and burned up. Captain Jiho Kang had fought his way to the bridge of the Eternal Harmony. The alien crew was too busy dealing with their failing systems to stop a single human with a plasma rifle. He kicked down the door to the command center and pointed his weapon at Veltharion. "You want to know how we did it?" Kang asked. "We learned from you. Every piece of technology you showed us, we studied. Every weakness you had, we found. You taught us how to destroy you." Veltharion's crystal skin was turning dark with fear. "The Council has ruled for 10,000 years. We brought peace to the galaxy." "Your peace was built on fear," Kang replied. "You came to our home with threats. You wanted to put us in cages. Now you know what happens to bullies when they meet." "Someone stronger!" The alien commander looked around his ruined bridge. His perfect, beautiful ship was dying around him. His great fleet was scattered and broken. His entire civilization was falling apart because of a species he had considered primitive. "What do you want?" Veltharion whispered. Kang smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "We want you to remember this moment. When your people tell stories about the day they tried to enslave humanity, make sure they tell the truth. We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it. On the home world of the Nexari, crystal cities were cracking as their quantum-based technology failed. The beautiful crystalline beings were trapped in their failing towers, unable to understand how their perfect society was falling apart. The Zephyrian hive worlds were silent for the first time in 1,000,000 years. The reptilian creatures had lost their shared consciousness and were wandering their cities in confusion, unable to remember how to work together. The energy beings of the Luminar Collective were losing their ability to maintain physical form. Without their technology to hold them together, they were dissolving back into pure energy, conscious but unable to act. Admiral Lee received the final battle report while standing among the wreckage of the Council fleet. Of the 200 alien ships that had come to conquer Earth, only 12 were still intact. The rest were floating debris or had been completely destroyed. "Sir," reported Captain Sora Kim, "the enemy commander is requesting permission to speak with you." "Put him through," Admiral Lee said. Veltharian's image appeared on the screen. The proud alien leader looked broken and defeated. His crystal skin was cracked and dull. "Admiral Lee," Veltharian said, "I formally surrender what remains of my fleet. I ask only that you show mercy to my crews." Admiral Lee studied the alien commander for a long moment. "You came here to destroy us. You threatened our children. You wanted to scatter our people across the galaxy. Why should we show you mercy?" "Because," Veltharian said, "that is what separates civilized beings from monsters." Admiral Lee laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Civilized? You called us too dangerous for civilization. You were right. We are dangerous. And now the galaxy belongs to the dangerous." The transmission ended. Veltharian's ship drifted powerless in space, just another piece of debris from humanity's first galactic war. Earth had won, but the victory came with a terrible price. The quantum virus was still spreading across the galaxy, destroying everything the Council had built. Entire civilizations were falling apart because of humanity's response to their ultimatum. The galaxy would never be the same. Communications Officer Byung-Ho Park sat in the listening station on Luna Base, his face pale as he monitored the emergency signals coming from across the galaxy. The quantum virus had been spreading for 3 days now, and the reports coming in were getting worse by the hour. "Sir," he called to Dr. Young-Soo Han, "I'm getting distress calls from the Nexari homeworld. Their main city is collapsing. The crystal structures are losing stability without their quantum support systems." Dr. Han looked up from his computer, where he was tracking the virus's progress. Red warning symbols covered the galactic map. Each symbol represented a world where billions of lives were in danger. "What about the Zephyrian worlds?" Dr. Han asked. "Complete communication blackout," Byung-Ho replied. "The last transmission we received said their hive mind network had failed. Without their shared consciousness, they can't coordinate basic survival functions." On Earth, Dr. So-Young Kim burst into the underground command center where President Haewon Choi was meeting with her advisors. Dr. Kim's usually calm face was filled with distress. "Madam President, we have to stop this," she said urgently. "The virus has reached the Luminar Collective. They're losing their ability to maintain physical form. An entire species might go extinct because of what we've done." General Wu Jin, Nam looked up from his tactical displays. "The aliens started this war. Every consequence is their responsibility, not ours." "We're talking about genocide," Dr. Kim shot back. "Yes, they threatened us, but we're destroying entire civilizations, billions of innocent beings who never voted to attack Earth." President Choi rubbed her temples. She hadn't slept in 3 days. "How many worlds have been affected so far?" 47 confirmed, Dr. Kim replied. "But the virus is still spreading. It's following every quantum link in their network. At this rate, it will reach every Council world within a week." The president looked at the reports from their intelligence services. The beautiful crystal cities of the Nexari were cracking and falling. The reptilian Zephyrians were wandering their hive cities in confusion, unable to remember how to work together. The energy beings of the Luminar Collective were dissolving back into formless light. "Dr. Han," President Choi said, "can we stop the virus?" Dr. Han was quiet for a long moment. "Theoretically, yes, but it would require shutting down our own quantum communication systems. We'd lose contact with our fleets across the solar system, and there's no guarantee we could contain the damage that's already been done." Meanwhile, Admiral Dongwoo Lee was leading the second phase of Earth's counterattack. Human fleets were emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system, striking at Council infrastructure with devastating efficiency. The hidden base on Europa had revealed a squadron of heavy cruisers that attacked the Council's mining operations in the asteroid belt. The secret facility on Titan launched stealth fighters that hunted down alien scout ships trying to escape the solar system. Each human ship was a masterpiece of engineering, designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses they had discovered in Council technology. Where alien ships were beautiful and elegant, Human ships were practical and deadly. Captain Sangwook Lim piloted his fighter squadron through the wreckage of the alien fleet, hunting for survivors trying to send warning messages to their homeworlds. "Phoenix Flight, this is Control," came Admiral Lee's voice over the radio. "Sensors show 3 alien ships attempting to reach the edge of the solar system. Stop them." "Roger. Control," Captain Lim replied. "Phoenix Flight, you heard the Admiral. No one gets home to warn their friends." The chase was brief but brutal. The alien ships were damaged and slow, their crews probably sick or dying from the virus effects. Captain Lim's fighters caught them easily and destroyed them without mercy. Back on the Nexari homeworld, Emergency Coordinator Thaiskala watched helplessly as her civilization fell apart. The crystal towers that had stood for 1,000,000 years were cracking and falling. The quantum matrices that powered their society were failing one by one. "How many casualties?" she asked her aide. 4 billion and rising," came the reply. "The residential towers can't maintain structural integrity without the quantum supports. The medical centers have lost power. Food production has stopped." Thaiskala felt despair unlike anything her species had ever known. The Nexari had been masters of quantum technology for eons. They had helped build the Galactic Council. They had brought peace and order to hundreds of worlds. And now they were dying because of one mistake: underestimating humanity. On the Zephyrian homeworld of Sekthar Prime, things were even worse. The reptilian species had evolved as a hive mind. Individual Zephyrians couldn't function without their connection to the collective consciousness. Warrior Prime Gekmoth wandered through the empty corridors of the Great Hive, his mind silent for the first time in his life. Around him, thousands of his people moved aimlessly, unable to remember their purposes or coordinate their actions. The food distribution centers had shut down because no one could remember how to operate them without the hive mind's guidance. The defensive systems were offline because the operators couldn't communicate with each other. Even simple tasks like maintaining life support were becoming impossible. In the Luminar Collective's home system, the situation was the most tragic of all. The energy beings had no physical bodies. They existed as pure consciousness held together by quantum fields. When their technology failed, they began to lose cohesion. Entity Prime Luxandra felt herself dissolving as her quantum containment field flickered. Around her, billions of her people were experiencing the same slow death, returning to formless energy without consciousness or memory. They had been immortal. They had been gods of light and energy. Now they were dying because they had threatened the wrong species. Back on Earth, the moral weight of these deaths was tearing apart the human leadership. Dr. So-Young Kim had gathered a group of scientists and philosophers who were demanding that the virus be stopped. "We've made our point," she argued at an emergency cabinet meeting. "The Council is defeated. Their fleets are destroyed. Why are we continuing to kill innocent civilians?" General Nam slammed his hand on the table. "Because they would have done worse to us. They came here to put our children in cages. They wanted to scatter humanity across the galaxy like animals. Every alien that dies is one less threat to human freedom." "That's not who we are," Dr. Kim replied. "We're supposed to be better than that." "No," President Choi said quietly. "We're supposed to be survivors. The Council made their choice when they came here with ultimatums instead of diplomatic offers. They wanted to judge whether humanity deserved to exist. Well, now they have their answer." Dr. Young-Soo Han looked up from his computer. "Madam President, I'm getting reports from our deep space monitoring stations. There are human ships emerging from hidden bases in other star systems." Everyone in the room turned to stare at him. "Other star systems?" Dr. Kim asked. Admiral Lee appeared on the main screen via quantum link from his flagship. "Operation Prometheus has multiple phases," he explained. "For 15 years, we've been secretly establishing hidden bases in Council space. Small facilities completely invisible to their sensors. Each one contains a fleet of ships and soldiers waiting for orders." The room fell silent. President Choi realized that Earth's military had been planning for this war much longer than anyone had known. "How many bases?" she asked. 47, Admiral Lee replied. "One in each major council system. If they wanted to judge humanity's fitness for the galaxy, let them see what we're really capable of." On the screen behind him, tactical displays, showed human fleets attacking council worlds across the galaxy. These weren't the desperate actions of a species fighting for survival. This was a carefully planned campaign of conquest that had been in preparation for over a decade. Dr. Kim stared at the displays in horror. "You're not just defending Earth. You're conquering the galaxy." General Nam nodded. "The Council wanted to know if humanity was too dangerous to be allowed freedom. We're showing them the answer. Yes, we are dangerous. And now the galaxy belongs to us." Captain Jiho Kang's voice came over the communications system from the captured alien flagship. "Control, this is Phoenix Team. We've secured the Eternal Harmony's databases. I'm uploading the complete records of Council military assets, base locations, and defensive systems." President Choi realized that Earth wasn't just winning a defensive war. They were taking over everything the Council had built over 10,000 years of galactic rule. "The virus is still spreading," Dr. Han reported. "At current rates, the entire Council civilization will collapse within 72 hours. Outside, through the reinforced windows of the underground bunker, the stars looked different somehow. They no longer belonged to ancient alien empires. They belonged to humanity now. The question was, what would humanity do with them? Fleet Commander Zornthak of the insectoid Kepri species stood on the bridge of his last remaining dreadnought, the Eternal Vengeance. Around him, the survivors of 12 different alien civilizations had gathered for one final, desperate assault on the world that had destroyed their galaxy. "Status report," Zornthak clicked in his harsh language, his mandibles moving rapidly. "Sir, we have 47 ships from 7 different species," reported his tactical officer, a wounded Nexari whose crystal skin was cracked and dull. "The quantum virus has damaged most of our systems, but we still have enough firepower to destroy their home world." Zornthak's compound eyes reflected the light of distant Earth. The small blue planet looked so peaceful, so harmless. It was hard to believe that this tiny world had brought down an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. "Then we will make them pay," Zornthak said. "If our civilizations must die, we will take theirs with us." On Earth, the orbital defense platforms detected the approaching alien fleet while it was still hours away. Admiral Dongwoo Lee was immediately notified aboard his flagship. "Sir," reported Captain Sora Kim, "long-range sensors show a mixed alien force approaching Earth. They're moving at maximum speed and their weapons are charged." Admiral Lee studied the tactical display. The alien ships were damaged and their formation was sloppy, but they were still dangerous. 47 ships could do a lot of damage to Earth's cities if they got through. "They're coming here to die," Admiral Lee said. "Signal all defense fleets. This ends today." Fighter pilot Sang-Wook Lim was in the pilot-ready room when the alert came through. Around him, dozens of other pilots were suiting up for what might be the last battle of the war. "Listen up," announced Squadron Leader Park Hyo-jin. "The aliens are making one final attack on Earth. They're probably planning to ram their ships into our cities or detonate their reactors in our atmosphere. We stop them here, or millions of people die." Sang-Wook checked his fighter's systems. One more time. His ship was called the Soul's Fire, and he had painted a small Earth symbol on its nose for luck. Today, he would either save his home world or die trying. In his laboratory on Luna Base, Dr. Young-Soo Han was facing the most difficult decision of his life. The alien attack force was carrying something dangerous, fusion bombs designed to detonate in Earth's atmosphere and create a nuclear winter that would kill everything on the planet. "Dr. Han," Engineer Mi-jin Yu said urgently, "I can activate the final protocol. It would shut down all quantum technology in the solar system, including the aliens' weapons and navigation systems. But it would also shut down our own technology," Dr. Han replied. "Our ships, our orbital platforms, even our communication systems, we'd be defenseless." "The alternative is worse," Mi-jin said. "If those fusion bombs detonate in our atmosphere, Earth becomes a dead world." Dr. Han looked at the activation console. The final protocol was something he had hoped never to use. It would send a quantum pulse that would permanently disable all advanced technology within 50 light-years of Earth. The effect would last for years, maybe decades. It would save Earth, but it would also trap humanity in their solar system until they could rebuild their technology from scratch. President Hae-won Choi was in the command bunker, watching the approaching alien fleet on the main display. The ships were moving in a tight formation, their weapons ready to fire the moment they reached Earth's atmosphere. "Madam President," General Wu Jin Nam said, "Admiral Lee is requesting permission to engage the enemy fleet." "Granted, President," Choi replied. "Protect Earth at all costs." The battle for Earth began in the space between Mars and Jupiter. Admiral Lee's defensive fleet met the alien attack force head-on, ship-to-ship combat at its most brutal. Captain So-Ra Kim's destroyer, Soul's Vengeance, was the first to engage. Her ship's quantum torpedoes struck the lead alien vessel, but the insectoid ship kept coming even as it burned. "They're not trying to fight us," Captain Kim realized. "They're just trying to get past us to reach Earth." The alien ships were using kamikaze tactics, throwing themselves at the human fleet with no regard for their own survival. Some ships rammed themselves into human vessels, trading their lives for the chance to clear a path for the others. Fighter pilot Sang-Wook Lim led his squadron through the chaos of the battle, hunting down alien ships that had broken through. The defensive line. His fighter danced between laser beams and missile explosions, always staying just ahead of death. "Phoenix Flight, priority target," came the urgent voice of flight control. "Kefri Dreadnought breaking through Sector 7. It's heading straight for Earth." Sang-Wook saw the massive insectoid ship pushing through the human defensive line. The Eternal Vengeance was heavily damaged, but still fighting, its weapons blazing as it carved a path through space toward the blue planet beyond. "I see it," Sang-Wook replied, moving to intercept. But his fighter was too small to stop a dreadnought. The alien ship was 10 times bigger than anything he could damage with his weapons. That's when he saw the ship's weak point. The Eternal Vengeance had taken heavy damage to its rear hull. If he could get a missile into that gap, he might be able to reach the ship's reactor core. "Flight control, this is Sang-Wook. I'm going to try something crazy." He dove his fighter toward the alien dreadnought, dodging the ship's defensive fire as he aimed for the damaged section. The gap was barely wide enough for his fighter to fit through. But if he could get inside the ship's hull, he could fire his missiles directly into its power systems. On the bridge of the Eternal Vengeance, Zoranthak realized that a human fighter was attempting to penetrate his ship's defenses. The small vessel was flying straight at them with no regard for safety. "Destroy that fighter," he ordered. But it was too late. Sang-Wook's ship slipped through the gap in the hull and fired all his missiles into the dreadnought's reactor core. The explosion tore the massive ship apart from the inside. Zoranthak's last thought was amazement at the human pilot's courage. The species that had destroyed his civilization was willing to die to protect their home. Maybe that's why they had won. But the battle wasn't over. Several alien ships had broken through the defensive line and were approaching Earth's atmosphere. They were carrying the fusion bombs that would turn Earth into a frozen wasteland. "Dr. Han," President Choi's voice came over the emergency channel. "If you're going to use the final protocol, do it now." Dr. Han looked at the activation controls one more time. Using the protocol would save Earth, but it would also end humanity's expansion into space for decades. They would survive, but they would be trapped in their solar system while they rebuilt their technology. "Mi-Jin," he said to his assistant, "are you ready to go back to the Stone Age?" Engineer Mi-Jin Yu smiled grimly. "Better than being dead." Dr. Han placed his hand on the activation scanner. "All right then, let's turn off the lights." The quantum pulse spread out from Luna Base like an invisible wave of destruction. It reached the approaching alien ships just as they were entering Earth's atmosphere. Their navigation systems failed, their weapons shut down, and their fusion bombs became harmless pieces of metal. The alien ships crashed into Earth's oceans and deserts, their crews either dead or dying from the effects of their failing life support systems. But the pulse didn't stop there. It continued spreading through space, reaching every human ship in the solar system. Admiral Lee's fleet went dark. The orbital defense platform shut down. Even the communication satellites stopped working. For the first time in 50 years, Earth was alone in the dark. Captain Jiho Kang was still aboard the captured alien flagship when the pulse hit. The Eternal Harmony's systems died instantly, leaving him and his team floating in the dark corridors of a dead ship. "Control, this is Phoenix Team," he called into his radio, but there was no response. All communication with Earth had been cut off, but they had won. The last alien attack force was destroyed. Earth was safe. President Choi stood in the command bunker, looking at the dark screens that had once shown the positions of ships across the solar system. The final protocol had worked. Earth was protected, but the cost was higher than anyone had expected. "How long until we can restore our technology?" she asked Dr. Han. "Years," he replied honestly. "Maybe decades. We'll have to rebuild everything from scratch, without quantum technology." "But we're alive," General Nam said, "and we're free." Outside, the stars were still shining, but now they seemed impossibly far away. Humanity had won the war, but at the cost of their dreams of exploring the galaxy, at least for now. 5 years had passed since the day the quantum pulse turned off the lights across the galaxy. Admiral Dongwu Li stood in the ruins of what had once been the Galactic Council's Grand Assembly Hall on Concord Prime. The massive chamber had been built to hold representatives from 12 different species, but now it was empty except for the sound of human boots on alien floors. The hall was enormous, with a domed ceiling that showed holographic images of all the Council worlds. Most of those worlds were dark now. Some showed the dim glow of emergency lighting, others displayed nothing at all. "Report," Admiral Li said to Captain So-Ra Kim, who was now his chief of staff. "Sir, the final survey teams have returned from the outer systems," Captain Kim replied. "The damage is worse than we thought. The Luminar Collective is completely extinct. The energy beings couldn't survive without their quantum technology to hold them together." Admiral Li nodded grimly. An entire species, gone forever because of humanity's response to their ultimatum. "What about the others?" "The Nexari homeworld has lost 80% of its population. Their crystal cities have mostly collapsed. The survivors are living in underground shelters, trying to rebuild with primitive technology." Captain Kim paused before continuing. "The Zephyrians are in even worse shape. Without their hive mind network, they can barely function as individuals. Most of them have died from starvation or exposure because they forgot how to take care of themselves." Dr. So-Young Kim entered the chamber, carrying a tablet full of reports from the humanitarian missions. Her face was tired and sad. For 5 years, she had been leading efforts to help the surviving alien populations, but there was only so much that could be done. "The medical teams have finished their assessment of the HFY colonies," she reported. "They're down to less than 10% of their original population. The insectoid species depended on quantum-enhanced biotechnology for everything from food production to reproduction. Without it, they're dying out." Admiral Li walked to the center of the Great Hall, where the Council's leadership had once made decisions that affected trillions of beings across the galaxy. Now the chamber was silent, except for the hum of human technology. "And Earth?" he asked. Dr. Kim's expression brightened slightly. "Humanity is recovering faster than expected. Dr. Han's teams have developed new technology that doesn't rely on quantum effects. We're already rebuilding our space fleet using conventional fusion drives and solid-state computers." It was true. Earth had adapted to the loss of quantum technology with typical human resilience. Within 2 years, human ships were flying again. Within 3 years, they had re-established contact with their hidden bases in other star systems. Now, 5 years later, humanity was expanding across the galaxy again. But they were expanding into a galaxy that was mostly empty. Captain Ji-Ho Kang arrived in the chamber, accompanied by a small group of alien survivors. They were representatives from the few remaining council species, come to negotiate the terms of their continued existence. The group included Veltharion, the former council fleet commander who had delivered the ultimatum to Earth. His crystal skin was dull and cracked, and one of his 4 eyes had gone dark. The proud leader, who had once commanded 200 ships, now represented a species that could barely keep their remaining cities from falling down. "Admiral Li," Veltharion said, his voice translator crackling with static, "I come to discuss the future of my people." Admiral Li looked down at the alien commander. "You mean the future of what's left of your people?" Veltharion flinched but continued. "The Nexari have always been a peaceful species. We joined the Council to bring order to the galaxy, not to conquer or destroy. We ask for your mercy." "Mercy?" Admiral Li repeated. "You came to our homeworld with threats. You wanted to put our children in cages. You called us too dangerous for the galaxy." He paused. "You were right about that last part." Another alien stepped forward. It was Gekmoth, one of the few Zephyrians who had managed to survive the loss of the hive mind. His reptilian features were scarred, and his movements were awkward and uncertain. I speak for the Zephyrian survivors, Gekmoth said, struggling with individual speech after a lifetime of shared consciousness. We seek protection, guidance. We cannot survive alone. Admiral Lee studied the small group of alien survivors. 5 years ago, they had been the masters of the galaxy. Now they were refugees begging for help from the species they had tried to destroy. President Haiwan Choi entered the chamber, followed by General Wu Jin Nam and Dr. Young Soo Han. The Earth leadership had come to make the final decision about the fate of the galaxy. Madam President, Admiral Lee said, the former council species have requested an audience. President Choi looked at the alien survivors with a mixture of pity and steel in her eyes. What do you want? Veltharion spoke for the group. We want to live. Our civilizations are broken. Our technology is gone. Billions of our people are dead. We ask only for the chance to survive under human protection. Protection? General Nam laughed harshly. You want protection from the species you tried to enslave? Yes, Veltharion said simply. We made a terrible mistake. We judged humanity without understanding what you truly were. We thought strength meant violence and aggression meant evil. We were wrong. Dr. So Young Kim stepped forward. Madam President, many of these beings are innocent. They were following their leaders' decisions, just like our own people follow ours. They don't deserve to die for the mistakes of their governments. Tell that to the families who would have been separated if their plan had worked, General Nam replied. Tell that to the human children who would have grown up in alien cages. President Choi walked to the great windows that showed the space around Concord Prime. Once this system had been the center of galactic civilization. Now it was just another star in human space. Do you know what we've learned about you? She said to the aliens. We've studied your history. For 10,000 years, you ruled the galaxy through fear and force. When a new species reached space, you judged them. If you decided they were dangerous or unsuitable, you destroyed them or put them in reservations. The alien survivors shifted uncomfortably. How many species did you eliminate over the millennia? President Choi continued. How many civilizations did you snuff out because they didn't meet your standards? Veltharion's remaining eyes looked down at the floor. Many, he admitted. We thought we were bringing peace. You were bringing tyranny, President Choi replied. The only difference between us and you is that we're better at it. Dr. Han spoke up. The quantum virus has been contained, but the damage is permanent. Most of the Council worlds will never recover their former technology levels. They're essentially back to pre-spaceflight civilization. Good, Admiral Lee said. Let them stay. There. President Choi turned back to the alien survivors. Here are our terms. The surviving Council species will be relocated to designated worlds where they can rebuild their societies under human supervision. You will have no military technology, no space travel capability, and no quantum communication systems. You're putting us in reservations, Gekmoth said, understanding. Yes, President Choi replied without hesitation. The same kind of reservations you planned for humanity. The difference is that we're letting you live. Veltharion raised his head. And if we refuse? General Nam smiled coldly. Then you get to find out what happened to all those other dangerous species you eliminated over the years. The chamber fell silent. The alien survivors realized they had no choice. They could accept human rule, or they could join their dead civilizations in extinction. We accept, Veltharion said quietly. Captain Kang escorted the alien delegation out of the chamber, leaving the human leadership alone in the vast space. So, Dr. Kim said, we've become everything we fought against. We're the Galactic Empire, now ruling through fear and force. No, President Choi replied. We're the species that survived when someone tried to destroy us. The galaxy belongs to the survivors now. Admiral Lee walked to the command console that had once controlled the Council's government. With a few keystrokes, he activated the human administrative systems that now managed what was left of galactic civilization. All Council worlds report to Earth now, he announced. The age of the Galactic Council is over. The age of humanity has begun. Outside the great windows, human ships patrolled the space around Conquered Prime. They were sleek and powerful, painted with the red and blue colors of United Earth. In their holds, they carried human colonists who would settle the empty worlds, left behind by the fallen council species. Dr. Han looked at his tablet, which showed reports from across the galaxy. The last survey teams confirm it. We estimate that 90% of the Council's population is dead or dying. Most of their infrastructure is beyond repair. It will take them centuries to rebuild, if they ever do. And humanity? President Choi asked. We're thriving, Admiral Lee replied. Earth's population has reached 12 billion. Our colonies are spreading to over 200 worlds. Human technology has advanced beyond anything the Council ever achieved. President Choi nodded. The aliens wanted to know if humanity was too dangerous for the galaxy. We showed them the answer. She walked to the great seal of the Galactic Council that was mounted on the wall. With a single motion,